Today, inshallah, we'll continue to talk about the host routing. We talked about the format of the routing table last time. So we talked about each column and what does it indicate. Today, inshallah, we'll continue this talk and we try to identify which line gets activated when we try to send to a particular address. And the mechanism here, as we have mentioned last time, is to try to find the line where if we end the address with the subnet mask, the result will be the corresponding destination address. If that happens, then this line is activated, in which case we will know how to send this packet through these two columns. The gateway will tell us whether we need to engage the gateway in the transmission, or if it's on the same LAN or loop back, then it's on link. Okay? If it gets sent, then this will give us the next hub, or the interface that this should be outputted to. Yeah, we did it last time. No, the routing table. We talked about the routing table. Maybe we missed you last time. There was many people absent. We talked about the routing table of the source routing, and we have stopped here. So the format of the routing table, each column and what it means. So this column means the destination networks, the reachable networks, and this is the subnet mask. I'm pretty sure that we have done this activity. We'll talk about it again today while we try to do this activity. So the first activity we'll do today is to try to go through these lines, and what this host tries to do now is to try to send to these particular addresses, and then we need to know the line that gets activated, and I actually numbered all the lines here. So we need to know which line gets activated, and then we will discuss how this host will send the packet. Okay? So that's the first activity. Later we'll talk about IP address version 6. Luckily, although we have IP address version 6, but we will not go deeply into routing of IP address version 6 because it's much more complicated. But we will roughly talk about the format of the routing table at the host and at the router. So we'll get some idea, but we will not talk deeply about which lines get activated and so on and so forth, because if you can imagine, I mean, to do this matching and AND operation for 128 bits, it's not an easy job. So so we'll probably talk. You will talk about that if you get through some advanced courses, but not as part of this course. Okay. All right. So we'll go through this activity now. Right. Yes. So we'll talk about that briefly in this chapter and in chapter 8 and chapter 9. But we will not, the part about IP address version 6 is just to introduce the IP address version 6 to the students, but really to perform routing or subnetting or something like this, it's much more complicated than IP address version 4. So, as we said before, the subnet mask is what we use to figure out whether we are in a specific network, because each network has a specific network address. Okay? As we said before, the destination in this routing table is mainly the destination network address, not a specific host address, except in some exceptional cases like here. So this is a host address, but normally what we have in the routing table, whether at the host or at the router, what we have is the network address, which means that we use the subnet mask, we perform the AND operation, and then if the network part matches, then we can route, we know that we have or we belong to this particular network. Also, as we said when we discussed ARP, if you remember, we said that the host will figure out whether to send an ARP request with the destination address of the default gateway or the destination address of the of the actual host on the LAN by performing a first check to make sure whether the host that it tries to send to, whether it exists on the same LAN and for that it actually, again, it uses the subnet mask, performs the AND operation. If the network part matches, then the host exists on the same LAN. So the subnet mask actually is used for multiple cases. Okay? All right, so the rule here is that, again, we perform the AND operation between the address and the subnet mask on each line. Of course, visually you can do that quickly. And then if the network part matches the destination network, sometimes it does match two things. Okay? In some cases, it matches in two lines. Okay? Then in that case, the rule is we take the line that has the longest subnet mask. The longest subnet mask. Which means that we get the maximum match for the network part. Okay? So we'll do that together. All right, so at the beginning, so just go through these addresses and try to figure out which line gets activated. So the first one, this is the ANDing operation, and the result will be 127.0.0.0, which matches this line and this line. So those two will be by default available. The one that we select is the one with the maximum subnet mask, which is 2. Okay. Command.
Why does it match with the first one?
Because again, match anything with subnet mask 0, 0, 0, 0. The result will be a 0, 0, 0, 0, which matches this one, right? So all of them, it does match. For all of them. Which means that if I don't put this line in the routing table, this means that I can only send to the local LAN. Okay, I cannot send anything further. Okay, command to ping default gateway. What is the command to ping the default gateway? What is the IP address of the default gateway?
168.168.
It's 168.10.10.1. So this is the IP address. 192.168.10.1. Again, I will apply the same thing. I will match this with whatever line. Of course, does it match this line? Yes, it does. So, okay, so we'll take this line. Okay. Does it match any other line? We'll see. No. No. Does it match any other line? It doesn't, right? Because this one, it has to have an exact match. For this and this, it has to have an exact match, which there's no exact match for the destination address, right? It has to match exactly the destination address. It has to match exactly. Okay? So the only match is this, of course, and 1. So 5 and 1. So which one we select? 5. Okay? Command to send to IP address 192.168.10.10. Yani all of a sudden we see that this line has an exact match, right? Right? In that case, it does have an exact match. Of course, it matches this one as well. So it matches this. Sorry. So it matches this and this and this, right? So it matches 3 of them. So we'll select the one with the maximum subnet mask, which in that case is line 6. مفهوم ليه؟ Okay. Okay, so 192.160.10.10. That's a tricky one. This is 160, not 168. Huh? So it doesn't match any of this. Let's see. Of course, it matches this one by default. This no, this no, this no, this no, this no, this no, 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 no. Right? So it only matches a 1, which means that, and of course, this means that this is on a different LAN, because 160 is not on the same LAN. And that means that we will activate line 1 in that case. There's no other line. Okay? Command to send to 192.168.255.255. Let's see. So, the 255.255. This no, this no, this no, and this no, 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 no. So the only one is a is 1. ما فيش أي حاجة. We will know later that this 255.255 is not actually a valid host address usually. So if it's all ones in the host part, this does not indicate a host address. So we'll talk about this. Okay, so the last one, 127.0.0.1. Of course, it matches this, right, and this. So in that case, we'll select the one with the maximum. So it's 3. شفت بقى؟ Easy. في أي صعوبة فيها؟ Okay, so ما أنا بسجل كل حاجة. كل شيء متسجل يعني you can play it and take a picture or take a snapshot of it. Okay, so as we said before, IP address version 6 is much more complicated in terms of routing. So luckily, we will not go through the same operation to match subnet masks and things like that on IP address version 6. If the lab instructors are kind enough, they will do the same. Otherwise, they will probably challenge you and go through that. But anyway, so the routing table for host for IP version 6 is different. Is slightly different. Okay, as we will talk about in chapter 8, IP address version 6 assumes that a host may have multiple interfaces, not just one interface, as we said before. It deals with each technology as a separate interface. So there is a separate interface for Ethernet, there is a separate interface for Wi-Fi, and a host may have actually different technologies, right? Or different cards. So in that case, this column indicates the interface number, which could be Ethernet, Wi-Fi. Of course, 1 is by default the loopback. So the interface, if it's 1, it's a loopback. 16, this is like for Ethernet. Okay? So here we have only 2 interfaces. 1 is loopback and 2 is the Ethernet, or the 16 is Ethernet. But there could be, this could be like, for example, Wi-Fi or any other interface. Okay, and each interface will have a separate IP address. So IP address version 6 deals with all interfaces with different IP addresses. Okay, so in a way, it deals with a host in a way similar to the router. Okay, because the host may have different exit interfaces for different technologies or different cards. Okay. The metric, same. Again, this is the cost, and the lower the metric is, the less the cost you have to pay, which means that this is a preferred route in case that you have a 2 a match in 2 lines, then you select the one with the least metric or with the least scores. These are the reachable network addresses again, and of course the format of the IP address is a little bit funny, and of course it's based on hexadecimal, and because the subnet mask has to be it has to be like contiguous ones and then contiguous zeros, then there's no point of having like the full subnet mask to say that it's 255 but something. So you can say it's slash the number, and the number indicates the number of ones. That's it.
In the network portion.
Yes, the number of ones, which indicates that the number of bits that you have to take from this address and consider this as the network portion. You don't have to really perform AND operation. You just need to know that you need to take the first, in that case, the first 128 bits to indicate the network portion. Or 32 bits in that case to indicate the network portion, and so on. That's it. Yeah, it's easy. And it's easier for the case of IP address version 6 because IP address version 6 uses hexadecimal notation, not decimal notation like the case of IP address version 4. Because again, hexadecimal makes the address more abbreviated or more shorter in terms of representation, right? Because each 4 bits will be represented by 1 digit. And this is the gateway, okay? And here, in that case, it's easy because it's always on link, which means that everything will be directly connected. Again, there's no default gateway here, and we'll not talk about why, because again, the routing for IP address version 6 is much more complicated. So we should have, like for example, this is the default route, because it say that whatever it's 0, 0, it matches like /0, which means that don't take any bits as the network portion. Anything matches. But this should go to the default gateway. So we should have the default gateway number here, or the default gateway address. However, this is the on link. Okay? So we'll not talk about that. Forget about this. We just need to quickly know the definition of each column and figure out which of these indicate which column. That's it. Okay? We don't need to do the matching operation for this. So very quickly in the remaining 3 minutes. أنا باخد الإذن بس. Okay, so we still have 2 minutes. We'll go through this quickly and quickly عشان الناس واقفة بره مش هتلاقيه قبل الميعاد.
دكتور ميعادهم مكان
دلوقتي حالا.
9.
بالظبط يعني we still have يعني. Okay, so anyway, indicates Wi-Fi, Ethernet, or other network-capable interfaces. This is A. So the route course, this is B. The reachable networks, this is C. The network address is found in this column. This is also A. C. The address used to send to a remote network, this is the A. Any questions?